Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I am Everardo Resendiz. Um, People around here know me as Coach Ever. I am a certified executive and business coach in Northwest Louisiana for Action Coach. Today I have William Fish with Legis IQ as my guest. He's the founder and CEO. We're going to be talking about his business, the journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and share a peek into what it really is like to build and operate a business. If this is your first time on the channel, please be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop new conversations just like this one. And so, without further ado, William, welcome and thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. I'm excited to tell everybody kind of about what we do and the hurdles we've had to overcome in the process. And yeah, excited to be here.
Excellent. Will you share a brief overview of your background and tell us a little bit about Legis IQ?
Yeah, cool. My name is William Fish. I went to the University of Texas and I grew up in the legislative information space. My great grandpa, 100 years ago, started the first legislative tracking service in Texas. And in the past 100 years, we've continued to run that business in Texas. And the guy that owned a similar service in Louisiana decided that he was ready to hang up his hat last January. And I moved down and bought LegisCon from him. And that business is over 50 years old. And in the past year, after buying a 50-year-old business, we've grown by 20%. It's been an amazing year. And the reason that we've done that is all the tools that we've implemented. We've taken the new advancements in AI very seriously and tried to make a lot of tools that make legislative professionals' lives easier. So what we do is we distribute information to lobbyists, state agencies, institutions on what happens at the Capitol. So what laws are getting passed that affect them or their clients. And that's our main service. Yeah.
Okay, so your clients are who?
Lobbyists, state agencies, corporations, nonprofits, trade associations, really anybody that represents a group of people or anybody that is directly impacted by legislation would be our clients.
So like Chamber of Commerce and
Yeah,
to name some, right? Okay, so what do they get from you?
they get access to data sets, I guess, is the main thing, but they get notifications in a timely manner. And so those data sets would be, hey, here are the bills, here's what they do, here's how they affect your organization. And then once you've identified the bills that you care about, you track those bills. And so the tracking like notifies you anytime there's action on something that would possibly impact you or your organization. And so
Love it.
access to data and then updates and notifications and reports and whatnot.
And so how are you using AI for this?
So AI actually enables you could use AI in anything that is technologically enabled. And we continue to incorporate it in pipelines that we haven't touched for years. Some of the main ways, the very easy, just low level, low hanging fruit ways to incorporate it, maybe asking a bill a question, right? Hey, I lobby for this company, or hey, I'm this trade association. How does this bill actually impact our organization? And it'll tell you, hey, this is a bill that you really, really want to kill because this bill is going to increase regulatory burden on you. It's going to make, this change and that change that are all negative. And so that would be a query that you would ask legislation. AI search allows you to find bills more effectively, right? Historically, the way that you search for something is through keyword. You might say, hey,
Yes.
I need to know every time the word property tax appears in a bill, right? If the word's not property tax, but instead it's some synonym of property, it wouldn't catch that historically. And so the way that you can use an AI search is its semantic understanding would catch what you're really trying to get at the core, as opposed to just like a word search. Other things we've incorporated in are version comparisons. When you compare documents, version 1 versus version 2, you can easily see the differences, but like what are those differences? How do they actually impact you? So those were 3 of the first 4 features, but every single thing from matching testimony to lobbyists, matching contributions to companies, matching contributions to their members or to lobbyists, matching, every single pipeline for any company could be hyper enabled utilizing AI.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay, and so does it work like a subscription model? If I'm one of these agencies,
Yeah.
What is that? I just go in and subscribe to it?
Yeah, so the typical way is we don't allow you to actually just subscribe online. You typically have to reach out to us through email or phone call. And then we would set up either a demo if you want one. I have had people that are just like, I'm familiar with the offering, love it, just sign me up, no demo. Those are great. That's like, all right, here's a login. But typically, you'll reach out, we'll set up a demo and get you an account set up. And then it's a subscription model. So we have a couple clients, mainly nonprofits that kind of need the flexibility that do monthly. But in general, we do an annual billing cycle. And we try to just put that on January every year. So, every
Now,
January hit with a bill.
you did mention that you acquired these, and it was a 50-year-old business.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, how did Legis IQ work before you guys got there?
So Legis IQ is actually a new company. That's a startup. The company that I was referencing, the 50-year-old, is called LegisCon. And it's
Okay.
essentially the exact same thing. We do the exact same thing. Um, but LegisCon operates at a state level for Louisiana. And Legis IQ is kind of a reimagining of LegisCon for 50 states and federal. And so it's 50 times the scale. We still provide the exact same services to lobbyists, state agencies, associations, companies, trade organizations, nonprofits, whatever, all that stuff, same stuff. But the company LegisCon is the one in Louisiana, and that's a 50-year-old business. And Jim
Gotcha.
Lee, some of your viewers might know Jim Lee, an amazing guy, the sharpest guy I've ever met, quick with a joke. And so he ran it, did an amazing job. And think I don't know if I want to rat out the birthday he just celebrated, but he just celebrated a big milestone and was like, you know what am I doing? I got to get out of the office. I got to enjoy life a little bit. So he, went out looking for some people to buy his company, and I was glad to oblige. And he worked with me, and I'm grateful for him. He's a good man.
Very good. Thank you for that. Well, what does the current ownership look like? I mean, are you the sole owner right now? Do you have any
Yeah,
other investors? How does it work?
yeah. So LegisCon was mostly purchased. I don't want to talk about. I'll talk about. Well, I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but no, I'm the sole owner of LegisCon. And then for Legis IQ, we have three co-founders. And so LegisCon is a separate entity. I own two businesses, as you can tell. Sole proprietor, sole owner of LegisCon, and then Legis IQ, we have two other co-founders, which I am the vast majority of that ownership in that business.
And so, what is your role in this partnership you have?
And sorry, we also have one investor in Legis IQ who has 5%. The role, it's really interesting. If some of your viewers have never started a company or are starting a company now, especially in something that they know about, the role at the start is everything. You really have to do it all, and it's the worst thing in the world. It's honestly
And it's
so.
also the best. It's not just words, right? Because
Yeah, it's
your
all the
fingers are on everything.
100%. It is the best. You really do get to put input in on everything, and you get to learn. You get to learn just so quickly. And honestly, like making mistakes is beautiful too. And you get to learn a lot through the mistakes that you make. But like seriously, there are weeks that I work over 100 hours, and like not like there are weeks like here or there. Like there are consistent weeks, like maybe even back to back, and it's like those are pretty brutal. But it's because like it depends on the speed with which you want to grow, the speed with which you want to develop. And the unfortunate thing is if you start a company where you are the knowledge pool, where everything kind of has to flow through you because your co-founders aren't familiar with the space, then you have to be completely hands-on on every single piece. And it just takes time. You got to be prepared to handle those times. So I would say right now I operate as a CEO. Thank God I hired a CRO, our revenue officer, who's in charge of kind of bringing in sales, setting up demos, doing marketing and outreach. And so has been an amazing weight lifted off my shoulders. And then our CTO and I'm a programmer as well. And so we work very much hand in hand. And he's starting to take on a lot of the technological roles that I've had to deal with for the past
So
year or so. We've been
that's a
yeah,
normal transition for people. You know, you got the idea, you know what you want. You take those initial steps, you get surrounded with the kind of people that are going to help you in that endeavor, right?
yeah,
But the burden's still on you for a time,
yeah,
until you can find that clarity. You can define this is the way we're going, guys. And now let's then put some things in place to hold people accountable to it.
yeah. And a
So
lot of that is like, how big your goals are or how much you have to develop. And then like those are things that you can't really tackle with money. Like I can't save time with money when I'm the knowledge pool for the thing that we're building. But then you eventually, once you do start getting sales and you do have kind of a stockpile, you can hopefully hire people to take on some of the knowledge burden. And so
that's right.
part of that is when you're building, and then once you do get the startup off the ground, you can then you have money and you can kind of offload some of that a little bit. But we're
Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so
we just
nowadays,
launched last Monday the new company.
and so
Yeah, what?
you said that there are weeks that you work over 100 hours, right? And that's meant to happen at the beginning. It's part of the sacrifice that we do when we start new things, right?
Yeah.
Um, but what would you say occupies the bulk of your time? Is it operational needs? Is it trying to
Um,
figure new things out? How how would you
it,
say
it
you
I
consume?
It is you said trying to figure things out, which is the answer to that is no. And I love that. And the reason why is because AI, man, honestly, I started this journey, started trying to build my company back in 2020, pre-AI, right? And that was I started programming and I was definitely like a junior programmer, like a novice. And when I would have a bug, sometimes a bug would literally hold me up for a week. I would have to spend a week on Stack Overflow trying to figure out, and it was just like bang your head against the wall. And now, like you want to figure out if you have to be registered in a state to do business there, you want to figure out what type of taxes you need to file to do this or that, or ChatGPT, Claude, I mean, really are just the best resources ever. So thankfully, I'm not having to spend too much time figuring stuff out. And I figured out a lot because of it. So I would say the bulk of my time is right now spent programming. And I would say that we're right on the tail end of all of the stuff that I need to develop. And so in the next month and a half, it's going to pivot a lot more into business operations, sales, and oversight.
Oh,
But I'm spending like 12 hours a day programming right now, honestly, like
yeah,
for the
yeah.
5 months.
That's what you need. That's what your business needs right now, and that's what you do. So I get
Yeah,
it. Completely get it. Okay, so you did mention, that there are some specific agencies and people who need what you offer, right?
yeah.
Um, but is there a target? Is there any particular that you think, they should not be operating without something like this?
Yeah, I mean, man, I really think that everybody should be engaged with what's happening in the government. It affects everybody. Right now, we are not a nonprofit and we do not have that enabling capability. But we have two separate types of models that we're selling. We have our 50 state model and we have our single state model. And those single states, again, any trade association like Louisiana Association of Restaurants, Louisiana Realtors, the governor's office is a client, any state agency, which would be that company, anybody that's really impacted by what happens at the state level should be a client. As for the 50 states, that's going to mainly probably be corporations. You're going to have some 50 state lobbying firms or law firms that are interested, but really our hyper focused target, even once like deeper than corporations, is going to be anybody that employs lobbyists in more than 3 states or employs more than 20 lobbyists. We created an entirely new field. We created like not even a tool. We created an entirely new field of policy tracking called advocate management. And I think it's just absolutely going to revolutionize the game. And I can't wait to share it with them. But that's why we're kind of hyper focusing on companies that employ advocates in more than 3 states or more than 20.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay, and so what's the competition like for you? There are a
Uh,
lot of people who do what you do.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, there are some stiff competitors, and there are guys that have been incumbents and publicly traded, like on the stock market. I mean, FiscalNote is the main one that's like less well known, but I mean, recently Politico Pro had that major blowout where like Doge was like, Politico Pro is making $13 million a year, $100 million a year, whatever it is, off of the U.S. government. Like, how could this happen? Right? They're getting kickbacks. Politico Pro, I mean, major company, their competitor, Bloomberg. Everybody's heard of Bloomberg, Bloomberg Gov. There are a couple less well-known ones, Quorum and Plural. And I would say they all do an amazing job. I think they do a great job. I'm not here to disparage them, but it's the issue is that there's a really big disconnect from the finance side, from the programming side, and from the government affairs side. Like a lot of these companies are run by people that are either financiers or they're built by people that are programmers. And the knowledge and the pulse that you have to have on the industry to build cutting edge tools, and not only to build cutting edge tools once, but to continue to innovate cutting edge tools is something that you really have to be at the corner of all three of those four. And so I've been able to use my experience in that to build, again, the one I just mentioned, which is the advocate management platform, never before done. I think it's going to be one of the most important tools in the tool set moving forward for the next 100 years. But that's something that you wouldn't really realize unless you were at that kind of intersection.
Right. Right,
Some
of
of the
course.
AI tools that we launched last year that helped us grow 20%. Again, I was in the space. AI came out. I was like, this is so cool. I should give it to my clients. Bam, loved it. And so it really helps to be at that intersection. We have a bunch of other tools that they are not using, an AI generated report. It 100% breaks down a bill specifically tailored to your company so that you can make sure that your research is as streamlined as possible. We have something called auto track. So, I mean, you don't even have to track bills anymore. Like historically, the role of a government affairs professional has been to identify legislation, which has always been time consuming and manually intensive, and then to
Yes.
track legislation.
Right.
And
Right.
platforms just like ours, the thing that they all do is automate the tracking aspect, but nobody's really been able to automate the identification. And so again, that's just another first of their kind. If you don't really realize that lobbyists or advocates have two main goals, identifying and then monitoring, you wouldn't know that there's one of those that's missing the automation aspect that you need. And so we have just a bunch of really, really cool, distinct tools that nobody else has in the space. And I am continuing to build more. And I think that that's what's going to set us apart. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And so, thinking of that, what is one thing that you wish more people, in your target market knew about Legis IQ?
Yeah. I think that there are a couple things that I wish they knew. I think off the top of my head, this is less for people in my target market, even though it's for them a little bit, but I think everybody associates advocacy with just polar opposites, right? Like you have like the hippie that doesn't shave their armpits, that like doesn't wear deodorant, right? And they're not funded. Or you have like the guy in a suit with like a $300 haircut and like a $50,000 watch. It's like ruining your life, right? Like those are like what people think are the people that kind of advocate. And one is that there is an entire middle spectrum of people. And there's also again, they're on both sides. So when you have people advocating, there are just as many people on what you consider the bad side as there are people that on what you consider to be the good side, right? And so it's not an evil space. I think a lot of people think that it's just like corrupt or just filled with evil, but there are people, no matter what you care about, there are people advocating on your behalf. So
Right.
that's one thing. And then man, I got off on that one, so I kind of forgot the second thing I wanted to
No,
say.
no, but I mean, ultimately, it's very real. It's very, very, very present nowadays. Um,
Yeah,
we the whole game of politics, okay, which comes into play here,
yeah,
is about finding that place where we can find agreement, where we can
100%.
compromise, right? And so, yeah, I mean, there's going to be always polar opposites on every single issue,
Yeah,
but the bulk of it is going to be those who can come to the table and agree on something. And so, for that, having access to that information, having access to the main points, Makes a big
Yeah.
difference. I wish that everybody had access to it, honestly.
Yeah, I remember what I was going to say. And it's that I think a lot of people box themselves out of this kind of subscription because they go like, oh, I'm not big enough yet. Oh, like, that's just for big companies. And I would say one, our price tag is like pretty competitive. But also if you see this and you do want to sign up, I'd be happy to give you $1,000 off your first year if you wanted to sign up, if price is a factor. But on top of that, with AI is a great equalizer. It really makes sure that if you're, a good programmer, you're a great programmer. If you're a small company, you can have the same marketing capabilities of a massive company. If you are, it makes sure that you can leverage yourself to the maximum possible. And so all the tools that we've developed with AI are intended to make certain that the small companies can compete at the exact same level of the major companies. And so for anybody that thinks maybe they're priced out of the market or that, they're too small to take on something like this, you're the exact person I think that needs to take on products like this because AI is going to make sure that you're on a level playing field. It really equalizes the competition.
Love it. Okay,
And
so
so that's kind of something that I would get out there.
we spent a bunch of time focused on the business and sharing a little bit of what it's like. I'd love to take a step back and dive into your
Yeah.
journey a little bit more, right? And
Like,
so, you did mention that this is almost like family business that you have
yeah.
developed into, into your new passion. And so, was it always that way? Did you always wanted to do something for yourself? Do you want to work for somebody else first?
Yeah.
What
So the
made that
business
transition for you?
So I actually like semi like spread my wings and flew out of the family business, but 100% that's how I kind of got here. And so yeah, my great grandpa started the first one 100 years ago. Dad took it over, took it to the internet era. Now we're kind of in the AI era, and I'm pushing it forward. But I 100% growing up wanted to work for the family business. That's exactly what I wanted to do. And I got to learn from the best. I mean, my dad was like one of the first people to put this kind of industry online. He was one of the first ones to put it on your phone. He was one of the first ones to do full text and then to do, and when I say one of, I'm pretty sure he was but I'm just kind of giving a little bit of wiggle room. And then he was the first one to do version comparison. And so like I feel lucky to have had that as a role model in this space and now to be able to provide those. But your question specifically was, remind me real quick,
No,
exact question.
whether there was a transition for you, that you worked for somebody else and you said, I don't want to do this. I want to go and take control of my own.
Yeah, I this might be a defect, but or it might be a superpower, but I really do like give everything that I possibly can. And because of that, I really don't like direction. I don't like when somebody steps over and goes, hey, I need you to do this instead of that, or I need you to do more. And it's like, I literally can't do more. And what I'm doing right now is the most important thing, or I wouldn't be doing it. And so I think that working for somebody that I care as much about as my dad and having like little struggles like that made me really want to be able to run my own thing and get out there and do what I felt was like the right thing to do at semi all times. And so that was part of it that kind of pushed me out of the nest. And then I just think the industry is like a little old and slow to move. And so I've been really excited to kind of try to break in there and eat up some market share with like AI and stuff. And so it was great growing up in the space and learning a lot about it. But I was just ready to, and the opportunity came knocking. Jim hit that milestone that I'm not going to rat him out on age, and he goes, "Hey, I need somebody to come run this." And it was just kind of the stars aligning on the perfect timing for.
That's right. So timing has a lot to do with these kind of
Yeah.
decisions. And so as you look at your journey so far, what has been the most memorable roadblock or hurdle that you were challenged with and you were forced to overcome?
I will say for anybody watching this, that you will have roadblocks and hurdles, and it is inevitable. And I think that the thing that you should recalibrate is just how often you should expect those. It's not whether or not they're going to happen. And the most important thing has been to immediately recognize and either break through the roadblock or detour. I've experienced a million. The worst one I think was I had a hard deadline to launch August 1st this year, August 4th. It was August 1st was a Friday, so we pivoted to the fourth because it was Monday. And in order to do that, we had to pivot so many times. But what we started development like last October. We had development going on before that, but really like intense development on the web aspect. We started like last October. And in April, I just kept on telling my programmers, I was like, hey guys, I'm building out our entire pipelines, infrastructure, everything. I need y'all to get this repo working. Here, what it needs to look like. Here are the specifications. And we got to April, and like after 10 iterations of trying to get them to clean out bugs just on like main pages, I was like, all right, guys, this is not working. We're getting rid of it completely. I'm going to just write it myself. And that was in April. And thank God I was able to do it. I mean, we scrapped $30,000, which when you're 30 like me, $30,000 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money in general. But
It's a lot of fun for everybody.
I just said sayonara. I just said, hey, sunk cost. I got to cut this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a month of 100-hour weeks and not see anybody and not talk to anybody and get this to where it needs to be. And that was one of the hardest things I had to overcome. It was also the most rewarding, and it was also the most necessary thing I've had to overcome. I mean, we wouldn't be where we were without it. And so I've experienced
So
every single roadblock
let me
along
make
the
a
way.
point here, William. I mean, this is important because people who start businesses, right? They have an idea, they get going with something, they may coordinate, put a lot of investment into something in particular, an idea of sorts, and then uh, it doesn't pan out the way that they expected.
Yeah,
And so more like they're going to be very, very committed to that idea to the point
yeah,
where, sometimes you just have to scrap it. And
yeah.
it's hard to do, right? Because this was that investment that you put in place that it's gonna go away. But
Yeah, I will say like I didn't scrap the idea, I scrapped the product. The idea is still there. I don't know if my ego would let me scrap the idea. I think the idea is I think it's brilliant. But no, we did scrap the product. But yeah, sometimes you gotta just cut your losses and realize and if it was an idea, I would have cut the losses. I'm just kidding. But yeah, you're totally right. But we experience every single roadblock. And like when I say like it's not whether or not you experience roadblock, it's how many and how frequently. I mean, from my first hire was horrible. She was the worst. And then she quit on her third day. Thank God. She like showed up late every single day, didn't do any work, had an attitude, left early. And then on the third day, somebody's like, hey, like you can't leave right now. Like you got in late and we have work we have to do. And then she's like, well, I thought this was flexible. And they're like, not this flexible. And then she's like, well, then I quit. And I was like, I didn't have to fire her. It was day 3. It was crazy. This girl
you
came in
were
as a
lucky.
100%. She came with tenure. But I mean, that was like the first thing I did as buying a business. Even like, yeah, anyways, you're going to experience them all. And the really, I would say, important thing is to identify when it is a roadblock and either make a way to get through it or go around it or completely just pivot.
I'm with you 100%. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. Well, let's now fast forward and look at what comes next, right? So you're at this place, you just launched this product, and so where do you see it going next 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5 years, hopefully billions. That'd be great. No, I mean that really actually is the goal, and it's not just all financially motivated, but I mean that's an outcome associated with what I want to do. And what I want to do is completely revolutionize the industry. I want to be the name associated with policy tracking, legislative information, and I really think that there is a path forward to doing that. And I've mapped that out, but it starts with baby steps. It starts with our launch. We super exceeded by 5x at least the amount of demos that we have this week after we launched last week and we set no demos last week. We were setting them for this week. And like at least 5x more demos this week than I would have expected, which is amazing. And so if we can just continue that kind of velocity moving forward or acceleration moving forward, I think we'll get there. But the Short-term goals are to meet our sales metrics by January to March, and then probably go to a round and then use some of the financing in that round to expand more quickly. Um, yeah, I mean, the tools, AI is only going to be reshaping the industry for so long, and I really just want to grab the bull by the horns and do everything we possibly can to make our clients' life easier in that
So
time
there
period.
is this idea, of the adapters, the laggards, right? When it comes to AI, um, some people may already be late to the game, but the reality is that what breaks through on any technology are those who really take it, and make something with it, right?
Yeah,
And
totally.
so it's what we call the pioneers in
Yeah,
these the paradigm breakers. And so
yeah,
that's what it takes to be a disruptor. And I can see
yeah.
how these will revolutionize, like you say, how things are being done.
Well,
And so
it's like there's the age-old example, and it's like the people that made all the money during the 49ers gold rush, like weren't the people that were rushing for gold. Granted, some people made a good amount, but it was the people selling shovels, right? Everybody in America bought a shovel. And so AI is that shovel, and like we are all the prospectors. We're all the people that are using that tool to move ourselves forward.
okay, so how do we sell the shows then?
Yeah, it's kind of on to what you were saying. How do you sell the shovel? They're selling them to us. I'm buying shovels. I'll tell you what. I bought an entire warehouse of shovels at this point.
All right. Well,
But yeah,
as we think of the future, one thing that always comes to play is, the topic of building a great team, right? Um,
yeah,
you start on your own, you bring people around, and you want to make sure that you develop them into what's going to support the next stage in development, right? And
yeah,
so, how would you describe your approach to these building a great team, keeping the right people, retaining them, growing them, and unfortunately, how do you exit those who don't
yeah,
need to be around?
yeah. I want to give a quick shout out to my employee Yvette Tony. She was Jim's employee, and I inherited her. And she is Wonder Woman. She is like the best employee I've ever had. And I'm just mad that I didn't have the opportunity to find her and give myself credit for finding her. But outside of that little pat on the back that I want that I'll never get, she's just the bomb. But you know, I am not perfectly suited for this question, and it's because I offload. I obviously have the final say, but I do offload a little bit of the employment process to my team, and it's because I have a flaw where I just like see the best in like movies, meals, people, right? And I'm just not incredibly critical because I understand like yeah, I think emotion wrapped around like the judgment or what I don't even know, but I like to lean on my team to make sure that we have qualified employment. But when
Isn't
I
that
am,
interesting, William?
yeah,
I mean, the reality is that, these that you say may be a flaw truly
yeah,
is the answer to many of what ails people. You know,
yeah,
um, you don't um, you don't want to be on everything, right? You want to
yeah,
be able to rely on your team to do those things. And we tend to either become obsessed with, taking control of things or, leveraging them out. And normally what works is when you leverage it out and you get
yeah,
yourself out of that product altogether. So
yeah.
incidentally, by need, you have stumbled into the answer to everything.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, my two co-founders are employees that I had to hire. I mean, they're not. I guess I don't even know if you call co-founders employees. Never had to make that distinction, but I did have to find them and recruit them. And thankfully, I had just known them for my entire life practically, and I just had really, really strong respect for their work ethic and their skills in the fields that they were in. And those fields were and skills were the ones that I needed. And I reached out and I got them and so those are really like my crown, hires, I would say. And those were just from a long, long track record of meeting expectations. I have, however, though, had to manage people, and I really don't think they're just like how in parenting. I'm not a parent, I don't know, but I've heard this. There's not like a one size fits all for kids. You know, if like you have a troublemaker, maybe you have to show some tough love. If you have like a kid that's always good, maybe you can be a little lenient when they screw up or whatever. And I think that you kind of need to take like some of the same approach. But in general, I try to have very high expectations, but also be very generous, caring, understanding, all of the good things that an employee would want, with the only thing that an employee wouldn't want being just a really high bar for expectations. And so that they can feel that the only thing that I'm holding them accountable for is that, and that I love and appreciate them in every other facet of what they do, you know? So I try to be as understanding and caring as possible, but I do have a high bar for expectations on
Good.
production.
That's what you need to have, right?
Yeah.
And the ability to hold them accountable to those expectations.
100%. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that. That
All
might mean
right.
I'm
Well, we have certainly covered a lot of ground in this conversation today. And for
yeah.
those people who are watching, I highly encourage you to come back, to save these and come back and watch it again because there's a lot of great nuggets here. There are things that pop up that get into our head, right? And so as we begin to wrap up, William, I have a few rapid fire questions. Okay,
Yes, let's do it.
just quick top of head answers for each. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
What is the key to success for you?
Hard work and doing hard work consistently. You gotta show up every day.
Very good. What is your one piece of advice for other business owners?
Um, Offload as much as you can and work your butt off. I want to give a little bit more of a sentence on this one. Um, the best way to fight off the stress and the pressure of running a business is to do everything that you possibly can to make it succeed. And at the end of the day, if it's everything you can do, then there's nothing more you could have done, and there's no point in stressing about it. And so I manage my stress. I have no stress. I'm sure part of that's biology or whatever. But if you work as hard as you possibly can, then there's nothing you could have done, and just don't even worry about it.
Left it all on the field.
Left it all in the
So there's no
field.
regrets.
No regrets.
There we go. What is one book you're reading or you have read that you think everybody should get their hand on?
I am right in the middle of a book called Winning Moves. My buddy Travis Leon, shout out Travis, put me onto that. And it's a book they recommend all of their founders that they invest in. And it's amazing. It'll help you figure out how to leverage your company to get more sales. And it really starts with like creating value. Like you need to provide something that makes your client's life easier. And that's Winning Moves. Good book.
Very good. Thank you for that. We definitely have to get a hold of it. And so, if you had to choose only one area of your business that you could immediately improve tomorrow, what would that be?
For the business, it would probably be marketing. I think I'm a great salesman and I think I'm good at marketing, but it's just like it really requires incredible dedication. And that's why there are entire firms or entire segments of companies that are specifically designed for that. Josh Mercado, my CRO, is taking that on bull by the horns, and he's doing an amazing job. And so we probably don't need that improvement anymore. But when I pulled on LegisCon, when I bought LegisCon last year, I was just too stratified. I was just too busy, and I didn't have enough time to dive into marketing. And I think it's really important. You can do all the cold outreach you want, but what really, really closes are those warm inbound leads, and you get that through people knowing who you are and what you're offering.
That's exactly right. Okay, so before we get into the final question of the day, how can other people learn more about you or your company? How can they get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, my name's William Fish. Our company's Legis IQ, or in Louisiana, it's LegisCon, and you can follow that up with a .com. So legisiq.com. We're on all the socials. You can email us at info@legisiq.com, and I'd be happy to throw $1,000 voucher if you end up signing up this year. We can take K off of it. But yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff in the pipeline, and it's been a really exciting year so far, and excited to see the rest of it.
So this is it. This is really the time to get in because you're building through these, right? And so whoever comes in may actually get a competitive advantage at this point. They're willing to
Oh,
actually go to those
I mean, all
costs.
the tools we've already developed are a major competitive advantage. And I mean, the advocate portal for the 50 states, again, there's nothing like it in the field. I think it's going to revolutionize the whole space. And I think that's going to be the biggest competitive advantage of all. But yeah, definitely. I agree with what you said.
Well, William, listen, I love the energy. I know that working through 100-hour weeks for months at a time is not an easy endeavor. And I'm
Yeah.
just happy that you're able to stay awake and have a conversation as boring as it is with me today. But
No, it's been great. If you saw my trash can, like my cardiologist would lose his nuts and bolts over it. It's full of Red Bulls. It's it's a mountain of Red Bull cans.
all right,
Yeah.
well, what do you find is most inspiring for you today?
I most inspiring. I think inspiration is a little bit overvalued, and I think inspiration is incredibly valuable. But I don't think you need to always be inspired because you need to have action, right? If you spend all day in like dreamland, then you're never gonna act on that. And so I think that my main inspiration right now is making my last inspiration a reality, which is making this website a successful and amazing business. And I pour every minute of my life into that right now. I can't even tell you, it's been, again, a lot of hours. And I think my inspiration is just making my last inspiration a reality. That's it.
Love it. Love it. Well, William, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all these with us. Thank you to the audience for watching and sharing these. You never know who you might be
Yeah.
inspiring by having them listening to this interview. And so until we see each other again, make it a great day, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. And I'll talk to you later.